The gaming world is witnessing something Microsoft never saw coming. After decades of absolute dominance, Windows is watching gamers pack their bags and head for the exit. The destination is Valve's SteamOS. The numbers tell a story Microsoft can't ignore. Steam's July 2025 hardware survey showed Linux growing by 0.32%, while Windows 11 dropped by 0.44%. That might sound small, but with Linux's 2.89% operating system market share, equating to around 4 million players out of Steam's 132 million users, the shift is significant, and it's accelerating. By December 2025, Steam users running Linux climbed to 3.58%, a rise of 0.38% compared to the previous month, while Windows users dropped by 0.56%. For the first time in PC gaming history, Windows isn't growing. Oh, it's shrinking, and Microsoft knows exactly why. Let's talk about what went wrong. 2025 was supposed to be Windows 11's year to shine. Windows 10 reached its end of support date on October 14, 2025, forcing millions to make a choice. Microsoft expected a smooth transition. Instead, they got a revolt. The problems started piling up faster than Microsoft could patch them. The October 2025 update caused FPS drops in several games, and this wasn't a minor hiccup. Gamers playing at 120 to 140 frames per second suddenly found themselves in the 40 to 70 frames per second range on perfectly capable NVIDIA hardware. Imagine dropping from buttery smooth gameplay to slideshow territory because of an operating system update you didn't even ask for. NVIDIA had to step in and clean up Microsoft's mess. NVIDIA staff confirmed that January update KB5074109 appeared to be the root cause, with users reporting drop frames of up to 20 frames per second and graphical issues. Here's the kicker. Microsoft stayed silent for 5 weeks while gamers troubleshooted in the dark. But frame drops were just the beginning. 2025 became a masterclass in how not to run an operating system. Windows 11 had over 20 major update problems in 2025. Updates broke File Explorer, froze interfaces, triggered false firewall errors, and disabled recovery features. One update even caused Event Viewer to flag critical firewall errors falsely, and Microsoft initially claimed it was fixed when it wasn't. The gaming community watched in disbelief. These weren't edge cases or rare bugs. These were fundamental system failures affecting millions of users. And through it all, Microsoft seemed more interested in pushing Copilot and AI features than fixing the foundation. Enter Valve's SteamOS, built on Linux, designed specifically for gaming, and completely free of Microsoft's baggage. The timing couldn't be better. In Valve's year-end review of 2024, Steam Deck had 330 million hours of playtime, a 64% increase compared with 2023. The Steam Deck, which runs SteamOS exclusively, has become the poster child for what PC gaming can be without Windows. By the end of 2024, total sales of the Steam Deck reached 3.7 million units, with estimates suggesting it surpassed 4 million by February 2025. But here's what matters. It's not just about handhelds anymore. And in January 2025, Lenovo released the Legion Go S, the first official third-party handheld device that could be operated using SteamOS. This marked the beginning of SteamOS's expansion beyond Valve's own hardware. The performance differences are staggering. Testing showed the SteamOS version of the Legion Go S has over 2 times more battery life than the Windows 11 version. Same hardware, same manufacturer, different operating system, and the results aren't even close. With fewer background and telemetry processes, Linux can use the hardware much more efficiently, consuming less battery life and achieving higher FPS. Think about that. Games running through Proton, Valve's compatibility layer that translates Windows games to run on Linux, are outperforming the same games running natively on Windows. Then came the announcement that shifted the entire conversation. In November 2025, Valve announced the new Steam Machine, a compact PC designed for desks and living rooms, scheduled to launch in early 2026. This isn't a repeat of their failed 2013 experiment. This is Valve coming back with years of SteamOS development and a clear vision. Valve claims the Steam Machine has 6 times the performance of the Steam Deck. The specs back it up. An AMD 6-core Zen 4 CPU, a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 GPU with 28 compute units, 16 GB DDR5 system memory, and 8 GB of GDDR6 VRAM. This is proper gaming hardware, and Valve positioned it as a living room system that runs the same Linux-based SteamOS software platform used on Steam Deck. The timing is deliberate. Originally advertised for early 2026, your Valve has since pivoted to a first half of the year launch, blaming delays on industry-wide memory and storage shortages. They're not rushing, they're getting it right, and they're not stopping at the Steam Machine. Valve released brand guidelines for SteamOS to be used by other manufacturers in December 2024. They want SteamOS everywhere. Handhelds, desktops, living room PCs, anywhere Windows currently sits. Here's the thing gamers love. SteamOS just works. It boots directly into a console-like interface designed for controllers and big screens. No bloatware, no ads from Microsoft 365, no Copilot trying to help you with things you never asked about. Steam users have discovered SteamOS's smooth operation and console-like UI, and the experience is focused, clean, and purpose-built. When you turn it on, it's ready to play games. Not ready to sell you OneDrive storage or ask if you want to install Candy Crush. Performance speaks for itself. Linus Tech Tips compared SteamOS 3.0 and Windows 10 performance on the Steam Deck using 3 gaming benchmarks, showing all 3 titles having higher average frames per second on SteamOS compared to Windows 10. The specifics are, Hitman 3 delivered 19 frames per second average for Windows 10 and 34 frames per second average for SteamOS 3. Doom Eternal hit 60 frames per second average on SteamOS, while Windows hit 47 frames per second, and Elden Ring topped out at 37 frames per second average on SteamOS, while running on Windows 10 at 30 frames per second. The compatibility situation has improved dramatically. Valve's Proton technology has matured to the point where almost every game in your library will just work, and almost all of the rest will work after you set them to run with a specific Proton version. The days of Linux gaming being a technical nightmare are over. Microsoft's response to all this has been concerning. While SteamOS gains momentum and Windows bleeds users, Microsoft spent 2025 focused on AI integration. Every big Windows announcement this year was tied to some kind of AI feature or event. The foundation kept crumbling while Microsoft built skyscrapers. Microsoft shipped a broken update to over 1 billion devices, watched users troubleshoot in the dark for 5 weeks, and said nothing. When NVIDIA users experience catastrophic FPS drops, Microsoft's 5-week silence on broken updates spoke volumes about their priorities. Then there's the bloat problem. A fresh Windows 11 install greets you with Candy Crush, ad-supported Solitaire, Microsoft Teams, Clipchamp, OneDrive notifications, and apps you never asked for. Gamers buying $2,000 gaming PCs shouldn't have to run PowerShell scripts to remove mobile games from their operating system. The telemetry situation makes it worse. Windows 11 collects hardware specs, app usage, error reports, and network data at the required tier you can't disable. Privacy-conscious users are looking at SteamOS as an escape hatch. SteamOS isn't perfect, and there's one massive problem holding it back: anti-cheat. Most games that require kernel-level anti-cheat aren't supported on any version of Linux. This means titles such as Call of Duty, Fortnite, GTA Online, and Valorant rely on anti-cheat systems that do not support Linux-based systems like SteamOS. For competitive multiplayer gamers, this is a deal-breaker. As long as the majority of popular competitive multiplayer games require kernel-level anti-cheat that isn't compatible with SteamOS or Linux in general, many gamers will remain locked into Windows. But the landscape is shifting. Valve hopes the Steam Machine and Steam Frame will give developers more reason to add Linux-friendly anti-cheat. As SteamOS's user base grows, the economic incentive for developers to support it grows too. Microsoft isn't blind to the threat. Jason Ronald, VP of Next Generation at Microsoft, stated the company is working to bring a console-like level of simplicity to Windows handheld gaming devices by 2025. They're developing a full-screen gaming experience to compete with SteamOS's game mode. But here's the reality. They're playing catch-up. Microsoft is bringing a full-screen experience to handhelds, debuting on the ROG Xbox Ally, but the stage is already set for Valve to take the lead when it comes to PC gaming. The problem Microsoft faces is fundamental. They're trying to bolt gaming features onto a general-purpose operating system loaded with enterprise requirements, consumer services, and AI initiatives. Valve built an operating system specifically for gaming, stripped of everything else. Then these are different philosophies, and one clearly resonates more with gamers, and the momentum is undeniable. SteamOS adoption is expected to continue eating into the Windows 11 user base, especially as more hardware manufacturers adopt it. Lenovo's Legion Go 2 with SteamOS is expected in mid-2026. More manufacturers are preparing SteamOS devices. The ecosystem is expanding, and each new device makes the platform more attractive to developers. Desktop SteamOS is coming. While Valve is currently working on adding support for more devices, the plan is clear: bring SteamOS to traditional gaming PCs. When that happens, Windows loses its last major advantage: compatibility with existing hardware. The numbers will keep growing. Omdia Research reveals 2.3 million PC gaming handhelds will be sold globally in 2025. They're representing growth of 32% from 2024. Most of those will run SteamOS or Linux-based alternatives. Each sale is a gamer who might never install Windows again. This shift represents something larger than operating system market share. It's about control, privacy, and user experience. Gamers are tired of fighting their operating system. They're tired of updates that break games, ads in the start menu, and telemetry they can't disable. Microsoft wants to make Windows the best place to game, but Linux and Valve's SteamOS have other ideas. The competition is forcing Microsoft to reckon with years of neglect and misplaced priorities. For the first time in decades, Windows has a credible challenger in PC gaming, not because SteamOS does everything better, but because it does gaming better while respecting users. That's resonating. Microsoft should be paying attention. SteamOS has no chance of dethroning Windows 11 as the most popular OS around in the near term. The installed base is too large, the ecosystem too entrenched, but the trends are clear, and trends compound. In 2025, the choice is less about whether Linux or SteamOS can run games, and more about how much control and convenience you want. For gamers who want their PC to just play games, no bloat, no ads, no AI assistance, SteamOS is becoming the obvious choice. The gaming exodus isn't a flood, it's a steady stream that's getting stronger. Every broken Windows update, every forced AI feature, still every performance regression sends more gamers looking for alternatives. And when they look, they're finding SteamOS waiting with open arms. Competition is heating up, and that's a win for all gamers. Whether you stick with Windows or make the jump to SteamOS, the fact that there's finally a real choice means both platforms have to compete for your business. Microsoft can't take PC gamers for granted anymore. The Steam Machine launches in early 2026. Desktop SteamOS will follow. More manufacturers are joining the ecosystem. Anti-cheat support is improving. The pieces are falling into place for SteamOS to become a legitimate mainstream gaming platform. Microsoft still has time to turn this around. They have the resources, the talent, and the market position. But based on 2025's evidence, so a 5-week silence on broken updates, Copilot buttons everywhere, the answer appears to be no when it comes to whether gaming users matter enough to warrant the effort. The choice is yours. Stay with Windows and hope Microsoft gets its act together, or jump to SteamOS and experience what PC gaming looks like when the operating system gets out of your way. Either way, the gaming landscape's changing, and that change is happening faster than anyone expected. One thing's certain, Microsoft can no longer ignore Linux gaming. The revolution is already here.